second video. This one probably won't go up. But you know, let me talk about that. People, religion and conspiracy theories have a lot in common. Look, I said it 1,000 times before, and I'll say it again. I do believe in God. It's just that I realize that there's something about religion. Religion is a complicated thing. It's more of a social thing than it is about, you know, it's not something, the whole argument of science and religion is kind of a silly one, because many of the greatest scientists ever were religious. Not that they had to be religious. You know, you could argue that it's not necessary to be religious to be scientific. It's not necessary to be an atheist to be scientific. You can be either one. It doesn't matter. In other words, it's not important. It's not really an important issue in the way it's argued on YouTube. People just argue these things because I guess they just want to argue. But I think that what I'm talking about is, like, when I think about conspiracy theories, and I think about people I know who actually believe that stuff, part of a conspiracy theory ideal isn't the theory itself, but it's that theories are a way of kind of socializing with people. That may sound odd, but if you gave it some thought, it makes sense. Because, you know, everybody likes to talk about how the government is doing sneaky things. I was just thinking, I went a few days ago to the Federal Reserve Bank, you know, they have a museum. I'm sure they probably have in all 12 of the other Federal Reserve Banks. But, you know, since Chicago is one of the cities that has a Federal Reserve Bank, I went there and it was interesting. It was a lot of fun. You know, they had this big pile of money. They had like $1 million sitting there, so you can see what $1 million in cash actually looks like. It's in a glass dome, of course. They got security, and you know, so there's that. You know, not that I was tempted or anybody's tempted, but the thing is that you know, people always talk about the Federal Reserve and the banks and what they're doing and how it's all connected to some mysterious group somewhere. You know. And all that stuff, and you know, the government has a lot of secret things and a lot of stuff going on. But reality is that people like to talk about those things. It's something to talk about. It's like a conversation piece. You know, it's like if you have an unusual piece of art or something, you know, it's something to talk about. Oh yeah, and everybody can agree on it. We all agree the government is sneaky, and the government is this, and the government is that. And it's a way of having a conversation most of the time. That's why I think people go with conspiracy theories. Not because they really have evidence that any of this stuff is true. It's just people want to have something to talk about. You know, if we say, well, you know what, there's a lot of things we don't know. I don't know what the government really does. And all the little details that they do. And of course they have to keep something secret. They can't just let everybody know everything. You know, if you talk in a more practical sense, that's boring. You know, that's not very interesting. That doesn't lead to a real good, you know, wonderful conversation sitting around, you know, drinking Chardonnay and, you know, a cup of coffee or something. And having a conversation about how sneaky the government is. Where's my cup, by the way? I gotta find it. Because I have to finish that coffee up. It's somewhere. I think Missy took it and drank it. But that's all I have to say about that. I might actually put this up. Who knows? It's just my whole idea about religion and conspiracy theories. Because religion is a way of talking. It's a way of socializing. You know, we all talk about God and this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, we say prayers for each other and things like that. I see religion as more of a social thing. Yes, you can have your spiritual things, but that's very subjective and very private and personal. But it's also a social thing, too. You know, and this is not an argument, by the way. This is not some debate issue. So if anybody wants to talk in some debate terms, believe me, I'm not even going to, I hardly ever respond to anything. And it's not because I don't like people. I just don't, I'm not a conversation person. I just like to talk. That sounds funny, but it's the truth.